We are live here on the Jets Roundtable with my buddies Jake and Ryan. Woo, there's a lot to talk about regarding the New York Jets. Why? Because free agency is next week, ladies and gentlemen. I'm super pumped up right now to talk some Jets here on the Jets Roundtable, powered by BetUS as always. We're really excited about this because there's so much rumors and so much speculation about where this new era of Jets football is going to go. And I'm your host here, Richie Milora, with Jake Asman, with Ryan. We're excited to break it all down. Let's hear from our panelist. Jake Asman, welcome back to the Jets Roundtable, man. Great to have you.
It's an honor to be back, Richie. Appreciate you putting this together. Great to work with Ryan. We're thinking about Matt O'Leary. He's on NHL trade deadline duty. So, but it's good to have 3/4 of the crew together for this.
Ryan, welcome back to the Roundtable, man. It's been a minute.
Good to be back. Excited to talk some ball with you guys. Just getting excited for free agency to start.
Me too, man. There's so much to get into. I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you guys. So let's get straight into it. Folks, hit the like button and subscribe here to the AFC's Roundtable YouTube channel, but also check out Jake Asman's channel, Ryan's channel. Those links are down below in the description. We appreciate all the support here on Roundtable Sports. Let's get straight into business, folks. First and foremost, I want to get Jake's thoughts about what you're hearing from the Combine, because, Jake, you're in Indianapolis, right? You got to witness a lot of interviews. You did a great job on your channel, first and foremost. Whoa, but we got 5 gifted from Travis. Look at that. 5 gifted from Travis right there. Congratulations to the 5 people that just got gifted memberships from Travis. We got Pat's Time. Oh, we got Patriots fans getting gifted by a Jets fan, I'm assuming. Say Breeze, Why Me the Jets fan, NFL Refs fan, and Beth all got memberships here on the AFC's Roundtable. Thank you, Travis. Appreciate that. But, Jake, how was the Combine? Let us know how it was, and let me know anything that you're hearing from the guys you talked to over there about the Jets heading into free agency, man.
It's a great week. I look forward to it every year. You just get, like, everyone associated with the NFL in one spot. It's constantly you run into people, and you do start to hear rumblings and different rumors because that's when agents are talking with teams, and obviously there's a lot of chatter about the draft. But the biggest thing I heard with the Jets is very tight-lipped. Like, maybe that's probably a good thing for now, but it's not like there's a ton of leaks. People have any idea on what Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn's plans are. I will say this. It's not directly coming from the Jets, but it's coming from people that spoke to the Jets or agents of people that I spoke to in Indy. Everyone keeps connecting the Jets to Justin Fields. Now, some of that I wonder, is it leverage for the field side of things to maybe get more money out of Pittsburgh to stay? You can't necessarily rule that out, but it does feel like, if not Pittsburgh, Justin Fields being a Jet is definitely something I think could happen on Monday.
That's interesting. I think Justin Fields being linked to the Jets has been there since we found out we're getting a new quarterback. Ryan, your thoughts about Justin Fields at this point? He's been linked to the Jets for a while. If the Jets bring him in next week, what's your thoughts behind it?
Yeah, I'm on board with it. I think it makes a lot of sense. I don't think it's going to be any sort of crazy deal, maybe a 2-year deal that has like a team out after 1 year or something along those lines. But from like a chemistry standpoint, you've got Garrett Wilson here, you have Jeremy Ruckert here. I feel like there's some optimism with how Fields performed last year, 4-2 before they pulled him. I think even if you're concerned about the, throwing accuracy aspect side of things, we're kind of hoping to be able to strike gold. Like, this kid's 26 years old, 27 years old, able to really have a second life of his career. No different than Sam Darnold, no different than, Baker having a resurgence in Tampa Bay. So I think it's a nice roll of the dice that's relatively low cost. And the mindset for Justin Fields has got to be pretty good based on, where we're kind of coming from. Like with Rodgers, we had that sort of, I'm the quarterback, I'm the guy, I'm the Hall of Famer, I've been here. Not saying that's bad or anything, but I think someone who maybe needs to fight for his job and feels like he needs to show that he's earned it is kind of a nice route to go. And if it doesn't work out, look, you still wind up drafting someone in the mid rounds, I think, and it doesn't prevent you from going quarterback in 2026. So I like the Justin Fields side of things.
Yeah, the Justin Fields side of things is interesting. I was hesitant at first just because I'm starving for a franchise future quarterback. And that's the only thing about Justin Fields that's coming here. I just feel like it's more of a short-term thing, which is, listen, I don't want to rule out of him clicking. We've seen quarterbacks, first-round picks not work with the organizations they're drafted to, and then they need another chance, and they work. I'm not going to say it's impossible that Justin Fields becomes the franchise quarterback, but I'll tell you that I'm not expecting it at all. I'm just not, and I feel like I got to just remind myself that, listen, the Jets have been searching for a franchise quarterback since I've been a fan, and it's not easy. And do you guys think the Jets have a chance to find their franchise quarterback this offseason? Like, whether it is in the NFL draft, whether it is in free agency. And, Jake, I want to ask you this question. Justin Fields signed with the Jets hypothetically. Are the Jets still going to draft a quarterback this year? Or how do you think the Jets are going into this quarterback market? Looking for the future or just looking for a one-year thing and look for the future next year?
I still think they could draft a quarterback. I don't think they're going to do it in the first round unless something crazy like Cam Ward slides and they have a huge or very high grade on him, where they fall in love with Jackson Dart or some of the other, quote unquote, non-first round graded QBs. So I'd be surprised if they did it in the first round if they signed Fields. But I mean, we'll get a pretty good idea, I would think, because if they sign like Marcus Mariota or they sign, Jared Stidham, then I feel like, okay, maybe their plan is to actually go quarterback in round one. Maybe it's not a pick 7, but could they be aggressive back into the first round and trade up for Jackson Dart? Like, then I think there's more credence to that. But if they sign Fields, I don't rule out them drafting a quarterback. I still think they would, but I don't think they would do it in the first round.
Yeah, I think the first round pick for the Jets is very intriguing. And Ryan, if the Jets bring in Justin Fields, what's their approach at the quarterback position in the NFL draft?
I definitely want to draft a quarterback at some point. I wouldn't do it in probably the first or second round. Once you have that big gap from your second round pick to your third round pick, it's a pretty big fall off. So I'd want to use best player available for the first 2 selections, and then picks, in the third round, fourth round. That's where I'm starting to think quarterback. McCord out of Syracuse is an interesting one. Doesn't have the athletic profile that someone like Fields or Tyrod necessarily has. So I don't know if that's the direction they ultimately go. But, Jet fan has a big arm. I think it would be a fun swing at the very least having a, future backup quarterback too. Like, I don't think Jordan Travis, I don't think there's any chance that, I shouldn't say there's not any chance. I don't think he's going to be on the roster week 1. I think more than likely he's going to get relegated to practice squad in a best case scenario. And, between all the drama that's kind of gone on with him the last week, I would be a little surprised if he's actually on this team. So I don't want to go quarterback high in the first or second round, but mid-round, third, fourth round is kind of what I'm feeling.
Interesting stuff. Glenn says, you better take Justin Fields. You need something at quarterback. If anything, he could be best running back on the team. Well, we don't want a quarterback to be our best running back.
I think it's interesting, though, with the Jets pulling Jalen Milroe aside and having conversations with him. Like, a quarterback room of Justin Fields, Tyrod Taylor, and a Jalen Milroe would be a very,
that would be interesting,
symbiotic kind of relationship. And
Jake,
and
your
Milroe,
thoughts of that? Quarterback room, Tyrod, Fields, and Jalen Milroe, you said, Ryan?
Yeah, so the other thing I just wanted to point out, too, is I'm pretty sure Jalen Milroe's dad has ties to, military service, which feels very, Saban, Belichick-y, Parcellian. I could see a little bit of a nod that direction. I just don't know if they're going to use a second-round pick on Milroe.
Parcellian.
Interesting swing.
What a word. Is that in the dictionary, a Parcellian?
Should be.
Parcellian,
cool.
yeah.
Is Aaron Glenn Parcellian? Wow, I'm going to call him that. You're a Parcellian, Aaron Glenn. Your thoughts of that, Jake? If the Jets bring in Justin Fields, do you think them targeting a guy like Jalen Milroe is smart because he's the same style? Or what's your thoughts of Jalen Milroe as a prospect in general?
Yeah, I would have no issue with that at all. In fact, if you're going to take a guy on day 3, which is likely where Milroe would be in this scenario, I think you're looking for someone that has all the physical traits but is very raw. And that to me is what the perfect prototypical developmental quarterback should look like, right? If you take Kyle McCord or you take Will Howard, we could pretend they're going to end up being franchise quarterbacks, but more likely than not, I think if you hit on that pick, they're long-term backup quarterbacks in the league, and that's okay. You take Milroe and it doesn't work out, okay, maybe he's your long-term backup, but say it does work out, the upside for him is maybe he could be your long-term answer as a starting quarterback. Maybe he's like Jalen Hurts, who went in the second round, similar skill sets there. So I love that idea if they pulled the trigger on that, because at least there's a lot of upside with Milroe. He's a guy that has all the physical traits you look for in a franchise quarterback. He just hasn't put it all together yet, but doesn't mean he couldn't.
Wow. Yeah, I saw Jalen Milroe with my own eyes at the Senior Bowl, and he had a really rough time But then he went out in their combine and lit it up. So I think that's my evaluation of Jalen Milroe is interesting just because I just wasn't impressed with him with my own eyes, but I'm not going to take 1 week of practice and think, yeah, this guy stinks forever. I mean, the Senior Bowl is an opportunity for you to go up against your peers, and he just struggled with the easier throws. So that's my only concern with Jalen Milroe. But he does remind me a lot of Justin Fields just because of it's the athleticism, the mobility, and throwing the ball deep very well. That's what Justin Fields is, but they struggle with the intermediate throws and everything over the middle. So we'll see about that. I want to transition to more free agency talk with you guys. Devontae Adams is gone. All right. Aaron Rodgers is eventually going to be gone. The Jets have roughly $52 million of cap space. What are some free agent targets that you're seeing for the New York Jets? Let's start off with the wide receiver position. That's the biggest talking point, I'd say, since the Jets moved on from Devontae. We're expected to move off of Alan Lazard. Are there anybody in free agency that you feel like the Jets are going to sign? Starting off with you, Ryan.
So I think the Jets, first and foremost, should probably target Fields as like their first free agent signing. So at least you let other, options, players know who the quarterback's going to be, unless you're trying to like hide the fact that maybe he can't throw or something along those lines. But from a wide receiver standpoint, I don't think we're going to attract any of the top level free agents that we're seeing out there because you'd have to give them a big contract. We're already kind of hoping to go that direction with Garrett Wilson. So I'm thinking, guys like Josh Palmer, guys like Tim Patrick, I think are sort of low cost options that allow you to build out different aspects of the team. A possession style kind of receiver is sort of what I'm looking for. And then I'd like to use a draft pick primarily on a top wide receiver, whether that's, McMillan in the first round, Igbuka, something along those lines, top 2 round pick on a pass catcher.
What have you been hearing, Jake, out of the wide receiver position? You see the Jets targeting anybody in particular or anything that Ryan said that resonates with you?
Yeah, the options are so bad. It just really just frustrates me how bad it is. And just like, I know they couldn't keep Devontae without Rodgers, but it's like, man, that'd be nice to have him right now. Yeah, some of what Ryan was saying, I mean, you keep hearing some of the similar names like Tim Patrick and Darius Slayton, maybe some other names to look at there. I don't think they're going to big name hunt. Like, I don't think we're going to see like Cooper Kupp or Stephon Diggs. Like, I think that's like Mike Williams 2.0 again. They're going to try and get younger at that position. But, I think they need to come away with at least 2 wide receivers in free agency. You can't go into the draft with just one veteran signed and like Garrett Wilson as your only like true wide receiver option. So they gotta find 2 guys that maybe are flying under the radar. So that's kind of the challenge because the list of names is not good.
And the one thing I'll say to remind people to be happy about, we have Garrett Wilson. All right. Usually we're like, oh, we need a wide receiver. We don't have nobody. We got Garrett Wilson.
Extend him.
How do we do that? How do we like push them to? I don't think extension is going to happen until after the draft is what I'd assume with this Jets regime. Would you guys agree?
I agree. After June 2nd, when we get Rodgers cap money back, that's when, because there's no rush for it. I think that's right. the best time to try and do it just before training camp.
And what's your guys' level of optimism that both or just one of Garrett and Sauce are extended by week 1?
I don't know. I'm probably like 40% sure. Like I could also see a situation where they want to play out the 4th year just to set up like more of a precedent because every single player is going to be asking for a contract after year 4 at that point. Like, do we want Will McDonald re-upped after, before year 4, after year 3? Like, do we want Will McDonald? Do we want Olu? Everyone kind of asking for those contracts beforehand. Now, the smart side of me is I think both guys are worthy of extensions and contracts are only going to get more expensive. So you're just getting ahead of the curve. You're not, I don't think you'd be worried about someone falling off the same way as maybe some other players.
And Jake, do you feel like both Sauce and Garrett will get extended or one of them by this regime? Do you think they're going to lock them down? Darren Muji said, and Glenn, we want to keep and maintain our good young players. And a great way to set a tone is to do that.
Yeah. Well, to me, I would extend Garrett, but I will acknowledge this. It's easier to do Sauce's deal because you just find out who the highest paid corner is and tack on a little more. I mean, Sauce has got 2 first-team All-Pros in his first 3 years. Garrett's more difficult because I believe he could be a top 10 receiver in the league, but production-wise, he doesn't have that to fall back on. But it's also a position where you need competent quarterback play to be able to put up great numbers. And we know that for 2 of his first 3 years, he had some of the worst quarterback play in the league. So it's a difficult contract to do given some of the money we're seeing for receivers. So I would say it's important that they extend both, but if they only extended Garrett, I'd sign for that because I think Sauce is someone that will be okay not getting his extension, will ball out next year under Aaron Glenn, and then be set to make even more money. But I'll throw this out there too to you guys. Maybe they should just extend both, because if they wait on Sauce and the Texans extend Stingley first, well, then you're going to owe Sauce even more money a year from now if you wait. So maybe you get ahead on both and you sign Garrett before DK gets his new deal, and you sign Sauce before Stingley gets his new deal, and you're better positioned cap-wise going forward by being aggressive early.
I agree with that. My only fear is there is a specific wide receiver that I think set a standard this past season of he betted on himself, and boy, did he win, and that's Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase did not get an extension after his third season. He went into his fourth year because he wanted to show who he is, that I deserve to reset the market. And now he went out there and had the best season we've seen in a long time. And now he's like, yeah, give me 40. Do you think there's a world where Garrett is like, you know what? I know what I'm capable of. Watch what I do this year. I'm going to bet on myself and not take your extension because I don't think I'm worth this. I think I'm worth that. Is there a world where Garrett says, no, I want to be here long term, but I want more money, but I know I got to go out there and prove it first. And he goes out there in year 4 to try to ball out. That's what Jamar Chase did, and he's obviously going to succeed with that contract. What are your thoughts of that, Ryan?
Need the quarterback. If the quarterback's not there, if he's got Justin Fields as a quarterback, there's sure, Devontae's not here and he could get fed the ball, but I mean, you might be looking at like 150 to 175 yards a game from Justin Fields through the air. So I don't know if gambling on having above average production this year is what Garrett should be looking at. I mean, if that's the decision they want to make, I'm fine with waiting a year, but I think he would take the money now. You do 4 years, 120. I think that probably gets it done.
I hope so, man, because I agree. Jake, the scenario you laid out, I think locking them both down now is only going to make more sense. The market keeps increasing. You want to do it before Stingley. You want to do it before all these guys. I just hope that's the difference. The one thing you love about Sauce is he wants to be a Jet. He's very vocal about it. I mean, he's very vocal. It doesn't feel good to have a star like that, like be that vocal, because we're used to guys like Jamal Adams and Elijah Moore and disgruntled players. Just like, it's the opposite, but Sauce embraces the Jets. Doesn't it feel good?
Yeah,
it is
100%. Nice. It's nice, and like that's
For
part of the
once.
reason why I want to extend Sauce too. It's like this guy actually gives a crap, wants to be here as a leader, and also, by the way, if you're Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn, you're trying to establish your culture. If you send a message to the locker room right away, hey, these guys are winners. They're not the reason why we've been bad. We believe in them. That helps get buy-in from some of the guys who are going to be on the team that have been a part of just the stench of losing since they've been Jets their entire careers.
South End Auto Detailing comes in with a $5. Let's do it. I'd die for an AFC East title at this point. Shout out Jake, Ryan, Richie, Young Goats, and then a nice South End Auto Detailing. Thank you so much for this generous super chat, man. We're excited about this show and having you guys on here. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please do us a favor. Like the show, subscribe to the channel, and check out Jake's and Ryan's YouTube channel, of course, down below in the description. As always, there's a lot to get into regarding this Jets football team, man. I'm excited. What's your guys' thoughts of other positions at the free agency spot, right? Wide receiver is not the only position. Is there a tight end out there? Because there's nobody at the tight end position I like, with Tyler Conklin being a pending free agent. Right tackle, would the Jets bring Morgan Moses back? Is there another free agent they can pivot to if he's walking? Jamie and Sherwood. We want to pay him, but if they don't pay him, is there a free agent out there? CB number 2. The safety position wide open. So there's some holes on this team outside of quarterback and wide receiver. So I'll kick it over to you, Ryan. What are some guys you think the Jets should be targeting outside quarterback and wide receiver next week in free agency?
So I think I'm just trying to plug holes for the majority of free agency, with the exception of probably safety. There's a really nice safety class. I don't think it's going to cost you a whole heck of a lot to get a higher end safety in here. If you could sign 2, maybe a higher one and one that's a little bit more budget friendly or has upside, I think that would be the route I'd go. I think you can get like a defensive tackle in here. Levi from Detroit seems like you could probably snag him with Aaron Glenn's connection here. Right tackle, I think, is a critical part. If you can get Morgan Moses back, that would be my preferred, internal free agent to get. But if not, I've been saying, Jedrick Wills for a while from the Browns as like a low cost option to potentially play right tackle. You could still draft someone at right tackle, and you're not, gambling everything on him. He hasn't really been healthy. There's concerns, about his, health and whatnot. but at the very least, he's like 26, 27 years old. He could be a long-term answer for a low-cost price, and he's played left tackle and right tackle, so he gives you a little bit of positional flexibility should Olu go down. That's probably where I'd lean to want to go. Cornerback 2, I'm not spending a whole lot of money on. I would be fine if it wound up being like, if you could bring back Eccles and have Stiggers compete, I would be fine with those two in this year's capacity.
Interesting. I feel like there's a lot of guys I like going into free agency. I think there's some guys that you could look at Denver and Detroit, more specifically Detroit, and I think we're going to pluck a lot of their guys. Like Carlton Davis is someone I can see the Jets target if the price is right to replace DJ Reed. Levi Onazukwike, if I learn how to say his last name right, is the Detroit Lions interior defensive tackle. I could see the Jets target. Jake, anything you're hearing?
I'm going to butcher that name on my show so many times. If he's great, sign him. If he's not going to be great, save us the pain of having to pronounce his name and don't sign him, Jets.
Onwuzurike. I think that's right. Onwuzurike. Does that sound right?
Just going to call him Levi.
Levi.
Oh, yeah, Levi is his cool first name. Levi. We don't even know what his last name is. Flick Short says, get Will Howard. Trust. He's way better than Ward. So Flick Shorts is a Miami Dolphins fan, also a Miami Hurricanes fan, who has been begging the Dolphins to tank for Cam Ward forever. He is also a anti-Tua person. He's a Dolphins fan who hates Tua. So he wants us to get Will Howard because he thinks he's trash, and he wants the Dolphins to somehow get Ward. So not happening, Flicks. Speaking of Cam Ward, the Jets have called the Titans about trading up, according to the reports of Dan Graziano of ESPN. The Giants are also interested. Woo, Ryan, would you make that trade if you're the Jets? Is it worth trading up to number 1 for a guy like Cam Ward? It's going to cost a lot of draft picks to move up. Worth it or no?
Well, I would say I think it's worth the phone call because you never know if you could get a Rex Ryan trade up for Mark Sanchez type trade worked out. That trade was worth it 100 times out of 100. That being said, for what I expect the number 1 overall pick to go for and Cam Ward as a particular player in general, I don't want to move any picks to go up to get him. I would rather, consider it if he's there at 7, but I'm cool with going best player available, running it out with, Tyrod and Justin Fields and some mid-round quarterback. For this year, just go best player available and then maybe focus on it in 2026 if need be. I don't want to trade up a 2026 first-round pick when I think that might be a top 10 pick next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumblings about that. And what's your thoughts of if a prospect of the name of Shedeur Sanders is available at pick 7? Would you consider drafting him or trading down?
I would prefer trading down at that point because I think the Raiders passing on him with Tom Brady being his personal quarterbacks coach is a massive red flag for me. And I would rather someone else come up and I would rather sell that pick for a little bit of a loss. Like if I could slide down a few picks, just pick up a second round pick, that's more important to me than drafting Shedeur at 7. And then possibly dealing with some of the drama and headaches that come with, having Deion's son in New York.
Interesting stuff. Jake, your latest free agency targets outside of the quarterback wide receiver room. Who do you want to see the Jets bring in? Anybody in particular come to mind?
I'd like them to be aggressive at the safety spot because there's some good ones out there and it doesn't cost you an arm and a leg with those contracts typically. Javon Holland from the Dolphins, you make them a little weaker. He's 25. I still think he's an ascending player, so you're not as really concerned about, are you paying for what he was or you're still going to get good production? So I like him. Justin Reed's another name, a little older than Holland, but good locker room guy. I got a chance to cover him briefly when he was with the Texans when he first got drafted. Been a part of a winner in Kansas City the last few years. I think he would fit what the Jets are looking for. So I'd be looking at some of the safeties, and he's technically still on the Jets, but I want to throw out there, I believe they should bring back Morgan Moses and Jamie Sherwood on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I would love that. Jamie Sherwood is someone that has been so fun to watch develop into the player he is today. What do you think his market's going to be like? Because I've heard the Jets want to bring him back in, 8 to 10 mil, and then some people he may get 12 on the open market. Ryan, what do you think Jamie Sherwood, his market value should be, and what do you feel comfortable paying him?
So I think his market value and what he would take from the Jets is two different things. I think from what I've heard, he doesn't love the New Jersey area in general. So our price might be closer to that $10 to $12 million threshold that we need to hit for him, where he might be willing to take that 8 to 10 million from a team where he, whether it's following Ulbrich to Atlanta or Saleh to the 49ers or something along those lines. I think there's a little bit of a Jets tax when it comes to Sherwood, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can definitely see him go to Atlanta or San Francisco because of the connections. I mean, the one thing that Jets coaching staff knew what they were doing is develop linebackers. You know what I mean? Saleh, Ulbrich, and that team, they knew how to develop that specific position with Quincy Williams, Jamie Sherwood, CJ Mosley, the captain, and now the Jets are entering a new era of the linebacker position. Expect to see Quincy Williams blitz more than he's ever had, by the way, in this new scheme with Steve Wilkes, and I think he is fit perfectly for that. Speaking about that, we talked about this on your show, Jake. I want to get your guys' thoughts about Quincy Williams. Is there a chance that he's going to ask for a boost? Because I don't know if you saw this, Ryan. I said this on Jake's show this week. Right after the last game of the season for the Jets, Quincy Williams went on X and posted that meme of "Show me the money." So I think he knows he's underpaid, and he may be asking the Jets for a pay increase, even though last year he didn't really play as good as he did the year prior, which is why I don't know if it's something he actually has that much leverage. But your thoughts, Quincy entering the last year of his contract, is he someone the Jets should consider extending and paying more?
I think they should. I like Quincy a lot. That's not anything against Sherwood or anything like that. But Quincy, if I had to pick a blitzing linebacker to bring in, I'd rather maybe go the more cost-effective route in the draft, or maybe a free agent that's kind of floating out there, than pay top dollar for potentially 2 linebackers. Quincy, even though he's a little bit older, obviously has, the ties with Quinnen. I think that makes those 2 guys happy. And he's been a really good Jet. We've had, 2 years of above average play for, under market value, in my opinion. So I think after June 1st is when you start hearing discussions. It might be Garrett and Jermaine that Garrett and Quincy that get contracts this offseason. And then next year might be like Sauce and JJ or something along those lines.
And when it comes to Breece Hall, Jake, what's your expectations of Breece this year? And are the Jets even considering extending Breece? Because he's the one entering the final year of his contract. Is he expendable in your eyes? Because Breece has been a guy that I think us Jets fans have put in this top 5 running back potential. He showed it as a rookie before he tore his ACL, and then he hasn't really lived up to that yet. Just being brutally honest, I still think he has it in him. What do you expect from Breece this upcoming season with a new regime and a new coaching staff?
So I wouldn't extend him. That said, I'm not trying to trade him either, because I still think he's been underutilized and he hasn't been used to his skill set. And I'm hoping a real coaching staff, if they got it right with Tanner Engstrand, could capitalize on Breece's skill set. Like, guys, how many times could you remember a design pass play for Breece Hall, other than the week 2 touchdown that Rodgers threw to him against the Titans? Like, it just didn't feel like they ever used Breece the way that we know he's capable of being used. He should be used like McCaffrey in that type of role where he's a dual threat player. They never have designed plays for him. I know he did an interview last year where he said that anytime he gets the ball as a receiver, it's not planned. It's just a check down if, Rodgers went through progressions and nothing was there. Like, to me, he still can be that dynamic, number 1 pick in fantasy football drafts that we thought he was going to be. They just got to use him right. But yeah. I'm not extending him yet, but I'm not against it if he has a great year. Plus, you have the franchise tag if he goes out there and does have a great year. So you're not going to lose him for nothing if you want to keep him and you can't get a long-term deal done.
Yeah, and I think the way that Breece Hall is going to get utilized is like this. You see how Detroit uses Jahmyr Gibbs? You see how Detroit uses Montgomery? Montgomery is Braylon Allen. Jahmyr Gibbs is Breece Hall. I think that's how I look at it with Tanner Engstrand from Detroit coming here. That's a great 1-2 punch. And I'm here to say, Breece Hall, I know Jahmyr Gibbs is a top back in this league. I think Breece can do what Jahmyr Gibbs is doing. A home run type of player out of the backfield. Like you said, Jake, use him as a weapon out of the pass attack. Design plays for him outside zone, inside. And then you got, they called Lightning and what was it, like Sonic and Knuckles, which was Sonic was Jahmyr Gibbs, Knuckles was Montgomery. And you look at David Montgomery, short yardage, goal line back. That's Braylon Allen. Like, I feel like that is a perfect comparison. What's your thoughts, Ryan, of Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery coming here to the Jets, but we already have them in Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. And then I don't want to forget, Isaiah Davis is a great pass catching back as a third option. I think the running back position is very underrated for the Jets.
Yeah, I love it. I think with what Jake just said too is spot on. I'm not planning on losing Breece for these next 2 years. I'm not considering trading him at all. I want him to ball out this year, and I have every intention of placing that franchise tag on him for next year. And then you could talk contract if he explodes this year or something like that. But I think you definitely lock him in for at least these next 2 years. As far as like what we could get out of Brees and this potential room, I mean, think about what Brees was prior to this past year. They changed the blocking scheme and everything. They don't know how to utilize him. I think along with a better play caller and, potentially a different blocking scheme and how things are actually called on the offense, he really can have a special year. It was very disappointing last year how everything was used and just his overall production. I took him at third in like most of my drafts that I had. So like, I believe in Brees. I'm not letting him go anywhere.
And the one thing we learned from being here in New York, our crosstown rivals, the Giants, I mean, you let Saquon Barkley go, and then what happens? Imagine being a Giants fan. Imagine Brees goes to the Patriots or the Bills or the Dolphins and becomes what we all thought he was going to be on our division rival. Oh, my God. I would hate that. Mm-hmm. I would absolutely hate that. So Brees got to keep playing on this Jets team because I believe he can be able to do all that great things here. Now, the tight end position is an intriguing one. Tyler Conklin, we don't know if he's coming back or not. Are there any free agents that you're eyeing, Ryan, at that position or bring back Conklin? I mean, he's Ruckert at this point. I mean, I don't know if we can expect much from him. What's your thoughts of that position going into free agency?
So I'd be open to bringing in a free agent. I think, is it Jawan Johnson? Is that who the Jets were like kind of linked to at some point? Mm-hmm. I would be fine with that. I don't necessarily want to spend a ton of money on tight end. I would like to bring back Yeboah as a third tight end. You got Ruckert. I really want to draft our tight end of the future, whether that's someone in the first or second round. Definitely a top 3 round need for me for the Jets. I think you got to get a receiver, you got to get a tight end, both in free agency and the draft to help out this offense.
How about you, Jake? The tight end position.
They need to me, double up on tight end, free agency and draft when I say double up. And honestly, if you told me they drafted 2 tight ends, I don't hate it given how good of a tight end class it is. I mean, Dom C's draft guide has like 5 or 6 tight ends that have like second or third round grades, which means they're not all going to go in the second or third round. So you could be getting a second or third round graded tight end on day 3. So they could take Warren at 7 and then take a tight end in the 4th round. And I wouldn't hate that strategy either if the board broke a certain way. So it's got to be addressed. And I think it will be because you look at where Glenn's coming from and just how impactful the Porter was for their offense. I think Glenn will see the value in the tight end and will push for that. So sign someone and draft someone and maybe even double up on someone. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm not completely against Conklin back on a 1-year deal, but it doesn't feel like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm open to Conklin. I just definitely want someone else to feel like the number 1. Like, I don't know if I feel confidence in Conk as number 1 and that's it. Like it has been the last 3 years. That's really how I look at it. But, hey, doesn't hurt to bring him in. Folks, as you all know, the show is being powered by BetUS Sportsbook. And there's a lot of interesting odds you can go over there and check out for free agency. If you guys want to use the code YouTube150, you guys can do that, and you get a 150% bonus on your first deposit, up to $2,000, 125% on your next 2, up to $2,000. Big shout out to BetUS as always. They got all these odds about where these players are going. And look, we have a wrong name tags here. I'm going to put myself with my name. How about that? Didn't get to organize that until now. But listen, Sam Darnold next up. Where is Sam going if not the Vikings? The Raiders are the favorite. The Steelers right behind them. The Giants are plus 200. And the Jets are down at plus 1,600. They do not see Sam coming back home. I don't see it happening either. Ryan, where do you think Sam Darnold is going? Is he going back to Minnesota? Or if not, where would you put your money?
I think the Steelers and Raiders are 2 really good options. I was sort of holding out hope if Stafford got traded that he would go home to LA, but I think one of those, the Raiders or Steelers, makes the most sense.
How about you, Jake? Where is Sammy D ending up? Number 1, is he staying with Minnesota? If not, where does he end up?
Feels like he might actually stay with Minnesota as we sit here and tape this. A lot of rumblings of that. And to me, that actually makes sense because they won 14 games last year. I know it ended poorly, but if you're like a veteran on that team, like how do you justify moving on from Darnold to go to an unproven rookie that is coming off an ACL injury? So I guess I wouldn't be shocked if they keep him. If he leaves Minnesota, I think the Raiders would make a lot of sense for Darnold. They need a quarterback. Maybe they still could draft someone at 6, but they then don't need to be desperate if they can't get Darnold and say, like, they have no quarterback and they got to move heaven and earth to get Shador or Cam. So I'll say the Raiders are Sam's next team if it's not the Vikings.
And having Pete Carroll over there with his ties to USC too, not that they overlapped at all. I feel like there's probably an affection towards that, school.
I agree.
Wow. I could see that. I'm a big Pete Carroll fan. I'm curious to see how everything works out over there in Vegas. I'll be crazy if Sam goes there, honestly. I'm rooting for Sam, too. I really am. Got to be honest with you guys. Now, if you guys want to go check it out, go over to BetUS. Of course, the one season award odds I'd like to look at is Coach of the Year because Aaron Glenn is at plus 2,000. If the Jets win 10 games and go to the playoffs, Aaron Glenn should win that award because that is the impossible that he's able to pull off. So that's at plus 2,000. Interesting stuff over there on BetUS Sportsbook. Big shout out to them. Somebody in the chat said that there's a lot of buzz. Where was it? A lot of buzz around Jackson Dart to the Jets. And I apologize because that's me. All right. It's me. It's me that's pushing it. Okay. And my narrative is succeeding. Listen, man, it's like half jokes, but half seriousness about my infatuation with Jackson Dart as a prospect. I feel like the only realistic way the Jets get him is in the second round or trading back into the back end of the first round. I just don't see pick 7 or even trading down from 7 and getting him. But at the same time, you never know. There is a chance where he gets overdrafted, just like a lot of these other quarterbacks out there. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. Zachary asks a question. Thoughts on Jets tendering Irv Charles and Xavier Newman? Ryan, did you see that come out there?
I did. I thought it made sense. You need some offensive line depth with Newman, and Irv Charles is a really good special teams player, so I'm fine with both of that.
How about you, Jake? Anything? Irv Charles, special teams, Newman,
I guess I was
interior?
a little surprised with Irv because he tore his ACL in December, so I don't know when he's actually going to be healthy enough to play. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost a lot to do it, so I'm fine. I'm fine with both.
Yeah, and you look around this free agency class. We talked immensely about all these positions. Is there any particular name that I feel like not everybody's talking about that could be a target for the New York Jets in free agency? We got a lot of money. Like, I feel like there's going to be a bunch of signings that no one sees coming. Ryan, you gotta find out who the guy is going to be. Some random that Aaron Glenn and Aaron Muji are finding. Who is it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Jedrick Wills is sort of the name that I've sort of hung my hat on. I think it's a very cheap swing at a tackle position that at the very least could be your backup. Gives you some positional flexibility. I think he's going to take a 1-year contract because of his injuries and everything. I don't see the Jets going big game hunting outside of maybe safety. I think Holland from the Dolphins would make a lot of sense for us. I like taking away a division rival's player because there's a little bit of extra zest going into those games each year, 2 times a year. So as far as under the radar, I don't know if Wirfs is considered that, but that's sort of who I'd look at.
Now, when it comes to the trade market, is there anybody that we should be looking after in the trade market, Jake, that you feel like could be a Jet? I know DK Metcalf has requested a trade. I don't know if that's realistic for the Jets. There's rumblings about these wide receivers. Trey Hendrickson, I mean, we can always add some depth at the edge position. He's a stud, but I don't know if that fits the timeline. Do you see the Jets making a trade?
I don't know who it would be. They could, though, especially a wide receiver, because we see receiver trades happen all the time. That's a good one. There's not an obvious name that I could think of. I wanted Christian Kirk if he was going to get released, and then the Texans swooped in for like a 6th or 7th, whatever it was, and got him. I thought that would have made sense for the Jets because there is some upside there. You're not asking him to be a number 1. It wouldn't cost you a ton. That would have been something I would look at. Maybe there's someone else like that could be available that the Jets could swoop in and make a deal for. I don't think they're going to go after like DK or Cooper Kupp or any of those guys, though.
Yeah, and I think that a big name that a lot of people are talking about, what Lewis brings up, Javon Holland, right? You guys mentioned him. Do you think he's worth getting paid the big bucks at the safety position? I can see Aaron. You look at the Detroit Lions. Now, they drafted these guys, and Brian Branch and Kelvin Joseph, but they're dogs. I mean, they're really good players and a big piece to that Detroit Lions secondary and overall defense. Glenn prioritizes that position and the corners. Luckily, he has Sauce and MC2 to work with. Do you see a world where they're aggressive for Holland and pay him the big bucks, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, a safety is going to get big bucks from us, whether it's Holland or someone else that is out there. I would love to get a safety in here. We haven't really had a staple free agency since Jamal Adams, and we haven't really had one that I've really, really liked since like Kerry Rhodes. So I'd like to
Jim Leonard.
I like Jim Leonard. I was a fan of that, but it was
Eric
just
Smith,
a different kind of skill set. And,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Calvin
Ron
Pryor,
Landry.
you don't remember that first round pick? Ooh,
Oh, the
what a-
Louisville Slugger? You damn right I remember. It just should have been a wide receiver.
should have been a wide receiver. Yeah, the safety position is interesting. I feel like the Jets, in my opinion, are going to sign someone like Holland and then draft someone on day 2 or even day 3, and that's going to be our starting 2. But is there anybody you want the Jets to bring back at that position? Tony Adams is like a restricted free agent, I believe. What about him or Ashton Davis? Or are you guys done with that safety room that Joe Douglas built? Jake?
The safety room needs a lot of work. A lot of work. I'd bring back maybe Isaiah Oliver on a 1-year deal because Wilkes coached him in San Fran. So you get a Wilkes guy, someone who knows the type of defense he potentially wants to run. I mean, there's some interest I heard in bringing back Tony Adams. He's a restricted free agent. Okay, fine. But they need to legitimately get 2 starters this offseason. You can't go into next year with either one of those guys being one of your penciled-in starters.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's going to be interesting to see where the Jets go in free agency. Lots of money to work with. Guys, I do want to remind you all that there's a new show on Roundtable Sports that is live today at 2 p.m. right after this. It's called Fourth and Forever. The Huddle on BetUS TV, the usual show, is taking an off-season break. So we launched this Roundtable Sports show called Fourth and Forever. It's me, Dan, and TD. This will be live in literally 15 minutes. So if you guys want to go over there and check us out on the Roundtable Sports main network channel, go check it out. We will redirect you there automatically after the show's ended, but I put the link in the chat for those that want to go check it out, breaking down all the latest news with the NFL. And I guess we got to talk about this breaking news because this is NFL related. Harold Landry is being released. So at first we thought it was going to be a trade, but nope, they're releasing the man. Wow. Could the Jets be interested? And I feel like that's a position that we haven't really talked about because we got Will McDonald, we got Jermaine Johnson. Like, are the Jets going to add an edge rusher? They have to. Will it be in free agency or?
They should. It's probably not going to be a big name, though. It's probably going to be like a Solomon Thomas type of player that's out there.
Is there anybody in free agency you like, Ryan, at that spot that's cheap?
I guess I'm open. I definitely want to go more of the budget route. I'd be fine if we wanted to draft someone too. I don't think you should put all your eggs in the Jermaine Johnson basket just because of the injury, but I'd also like a situation where we bring in someone that also has the ability to play linebacker or edge rusher, like between Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson, and whoever this new person could potentially be. I want to be able to get all 3 on the field at the same time.
Yeah, I feel you. And I think that we're going to see a lot of things come to fruition. Final prediction is Justin Fields a Jet, because that seems like the biggest thing that everyone's talking about. We started off the show about Justin Fields. Jake, yes or no? Justin Fields, will he be a Jet?
Yes.
Prediction.
I'm going to say yes, because if he's not, I really don't know what I'm going to be excited about with this team. Because at least with Fields, there's the hope he could do what Sam did or Baker did. But if you tell me it's Marcus Mariota and Tyrod Taylor, like we're sniffing 6 wins, like if we're lucky. So I just I want to at least convince myself that we could have this fun season, like what Minnesota literally just did a year ago with no expectations. So I hope so. And I'll say it again. When I was at the Combine last week, he was the name I heard connected to the Jets more than any other name. So I'm hoping that it's not just the Jets being used for leverage and that there's actually some validity to it.
And what would the contract projection be for that? What do you think the Jets would have to give Justin Fields? Like
2 years, $20 million.
$10 million per year?
Yeah, maybe you guarantee like 13 or 14 of it. And the reason why I would do it is if it doesn't work out, well, at least you have your long-term backup. He's like what Tyrod was to this team this year. Gave him a 2-year deal last year. You have him. He's a hold the fort guy. Like, he's not great, but he could play in the league. And then, like, if you're bad, all right, fine. At least you have a quarterback under contract, and then you can go out there and get your quarterback in round 1 next year, which is, if gun to my head, that's likely what ends up happening. We'll have a better idea, I guess, after Monday. But, like, in all likelihood, the long-term answer for the Jets at quarterback is not going to be acquired this offseason unless they get lucky.
Ryan, your prediction, Justin Fields, will it be a Jet?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. It just makes too much sense for both sides. You know, Justin Fields wants to have someone that feels like they're, want him to be the quarterback, and I feel like the Jets could be that. I believe the quote we heard, sorry, not from Justin Fields, but
Drink some water, Ryan.
Yeah, it was clearing the runway or something like that was the term that was used. It just makes too much sense for the Jets. And then, like Jake said, I think 2026 is probably what you're looking at. We don't have Tyrod under contract anyway, so a 2-year deal would make a ton of sense for.
But what's your guys' thoughts, real quick, of the Steelers? Like, don't you feel like they're a big reason that Fields doesn't come to the Jets? Because what if the Steelers say, "Hey, we want you as our starter"? What, do you refuse that?
They would have put him in last year. The fact that they pulled him for Russ and never put him back in, I wouldn't want to sign there if I was him.
That's interesting. Russell Wilson too is free agent, so curious to see where Pittsburgh goes. Lizelle, I would like to see us get Mike Green from Marshall. Yeah, he's a dog. I mean, he's someone that you could justify pick 7. I mean, I don't know if we need to go at that position. We went back we have 2 first-round picks at that edge position. I think we need to sprinkle some first-round picks elsewhere. I love edge rushers. I do. But I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. All right, folks, that's going to wrap up this show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Jets Roundtable, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook, the #1 online sportsbook, folks. Make sure you guys check them out. Jake Asman, what's your weekend's plans? Let the people know where they can find you, bro.
They can find me by typing in Jake Asman on
Nice.
Mr. Tube. Check it out on YouTube. That's where I will be every day talking about our football team that we all love and hate at the same time. And where will I be this weekend? I am the best man in a wedding. I got a big speech to deliver on Long Island, Richie, on Sunday. And then I could start drinking, only to then be slightly hungover for free agency shows on Monday. So can't wait.
Well, good luck on Sunday, man. Absolutely. I had to have a nice speech at my sister's wedding.
Ooh.
And there was a little, some nerves. And all of a sudden I got up there. And I'm like, oh, it's like I'm talking to the Jets, about the Jets, just, in front of people that has nothing to do with it. So good luck. You're going to be a natural, Jake. Ryan, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yeah, you can find me over on Jets Talk 24/7, making content throughout the week. I'm just going to be laying low, getting ready for free agency to start, listening to some of the rumors that I hear come out. And 2 little girls got their first dentist appointment, so I get to go to that tomorrow. So,
man, you're just
fun dad stuff.
You're a great father, Ryan. You know that?
Love that.
Dentist appointments. I love it. Ryan, Jake, appreciate you always here on the Jets Roundtable, folks. Live Fridays, 1 p.m. EST. Thank you guys so much, and check us out right here on 4th and Forever, live in 10 minutes. Go check it out. We'll see you guys there. Peace out, and have a great weekend, folks.